Welcome to the Sixth Position Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Wong, and today I'm joined with Aurora Grace, aka That Foodie Ballerina. She's a ballet dancer, a content creator, and more recently, an entrepreneur. Today, we're going to be talking about her journey in ballet, wellness, creativity, and building something of her own. Welcome to the Sixth Position. Hi, Aurora. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
For listeners who are meeting you for the first time today, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are beyond just being a ballet dancer?
Of course. So I am 21. I turned 22 in September. My name is Aurora Grace, and across social media, I'm known as That Foodie Ballerina. Um, I've been doing ballet almost my whole life, and just recently I've started to kind of flesh out who I am outside of just being a ballerina. I just recently became a holistic nutritionist, and I love sharing my balanced food philosophy across social media through content. And I also just started a crochet small business.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And just speaking of food, something that I really admire about your platform is that you're willing to talk openly about topics that can usually be a little bit difficult in the dance world, especially things like food and body image. So how has your relationship with food and your body evolved throughout your dance journey?
Amazing question. I would say for the first part of my journey, up until I started to enter the professional world and reach 16, 17, my relationship with food was very good. I was raised in a very healthy environment. I had no parental pressure. My ballet school I trained at had some toxic tendencies, but I never really felt their effects until I turned 17 and I started auditioning for companies. And I don't exactly remember when the switch was, but I went through a very rough patch with my body. And I had always looked at my body somewhat critically, but I'd never acted upon that. And then I just went into a really deep phase of restricting and feeling really negative towards my body and how it looked. And that went on for maybe a year or so. And kind of on the other side of that, I realized that whatever temporary standard I'm trying to fit into, it's never going to be worth sacrificing my health or the longevity of my career. Because when I was in that really dark period, I couldn't really enjoy myself, and ballet became something that I didn't enjoy. Um, it was like a form of punishment, and I was really just giving everything to ballet, and I wasn't getting a lot back.
Hmm. I feel like that kind of mirrors my own personal experience with dance too, except for me, I was just it used to always be I loved ballet. I'm so excited to go to class. And then eventually, somehow it just spiraled into more and more perfectionism. But I was wondering, what made you decide to be able to open up the conversation on social media and just kind of define those boundaries publicly?
I feel like it happened pretty naturally. I started making content, I think it was the summer after my first year in college, and I wanted to kind of create an income stream for myself. And I was making like really lighthearted, funny content, nothing to do with the content I make now. It was on TikTok and it was just funny trends and very lighthearted. And I remember I posted a what I eat in a day very randomly, and it performed very well. And I realized there was a whole area of content that I wasn't tapping into, and a whole area of like the emotional side of things, and I had a very personal journey that I was willing to share. And I didn't know why I hadn't shared it before, because I was making funny TikToks and it was all fun and games. And then I got such a positive response to those first few what I eat in a day videos as a ballerina that were just like my normal way of eating. I wasn't trying to eat to, you know, put a certain message across. It was really just a very like my natural diet, and people thought it was interesting. And I'm a very open person, and I know that a lot of people struggle with the things that I struggled with. Um, and so it's really just, it doesn't feel like I'm sharing it to thousands of people. It just feels like the few people that need to hear it. And that's really all I care about.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was the turning point like from being around 17 years old and then eventually being able to accept your body?
Oh, it definitely wasn't easy. And it's still something that I struggle with today, especially just the ballet world. As you know, it's changing and it's moving in a positive direction, but there's always outdated ideas. especially in like leadership, that people
Mhm.
who have danced as part of a different generation, those ideas can carry over into the modern changing world. And so I think the biggest thing for me, obviously, I was changing the way I ate from like really restricting to just eating everything and nourishing my body. But with that came like an understanding of how I needed to reshape my mindset. And I learned tools during that time that I still apply today. And so if I'm having a very negative body image day and I just really cannot stand the way I look, instead of acting upon those negative emotions, I sort of just have to learn to accept them and know that those emotions aren't a reason for me to restrict or listen to them necessarily, because body image and body dysmorphia are very loud and they tend to convince us to do things that we probably shouldn't. And so learning to not listen to those voices and just know that they're temporary and they're not telling the truth has been very important in my healing journey. And so today, if I look in the mirror and I don't feel good about myself, I just kind of have to look at myself and say, this is the body I was given. This is the body my body wants to have. I eat well, I nourish my body. And if this is how my body wants to look, who am I to try to change that simply because the director wants me to lose weight or not put me in this tutu? Because at the end of the day, it's you and your body till the end, and nobody else has permission to tell you to change that.
Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of the times, like it can be hard challenging authority when they have like a certain view that they want to put like towards their dancers. So how have you like been able to navigate that?
Luckily, I haven't had too many experiences where I've been a direct victim to that kind of pressure.
Mhm.
I've been very lucky to find healthy environments. Where I was last year at Grand Rapids Ballet, I felt no pressure. There were so many healthy bodies, and just the environment was very encouraging and uplifting. Um, because it can be hard. Like ballet jobs are very hard to come by, positions are very hard to keep. And so if you're kind of given this ultimatum, like lose weight or tone up, or we're giving your contract away, that's a really, really challenging position to navigate. And I'm lucky that that hasn't happened to me. But if any of you guys, or if anyone finds himself in that situation, or if I find myself in that situation someday down the road, I think it's a question about asking, like, where are my priorities? Because obviously I love ballet and this is my dream. But if it comes to choosing ballet or my health and my life, ultimately, you always have to choose you and your life, because it's ballet is temporary. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
You're going to the new ballet next year?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I know that the audition process can be like kind of challenging, and I really appreciated how you were able to be like open about sharing that. And rejection is something that a lot of dancers face, and no one really talks about it. So what was that process like for you emotionally?
Yeah, audition season, that's probably one of the toughest things that every dancer has to go through. And you never really exit that phase. Like as dancers, as artists, we're always auditioning. Even once you have a contract, it's like casting. It's not something you can escape, and therefore rejection is not something we can escape.
Mhm.
Um, and so I would say this audition season was particularly challenging because I was dealing with an injury. So I really only got to do two auditions this year. And so I'm going to talk about my experience last year because I had a
Mhm.
lot more rejection because I was auditioning a lot more places. And so what I really had to learn was that, I mean, and this is a huge cliche, but it's really important.
Mhm.
Rejection is a redirection. And once you get rejected enough times, you start to see the pattern of one opportunity closing, but another, perhaps better one opening up. And that's been very true in my life so far. Every rejection, every place I thought I really wanted to go that didn't end up working out, somehow the road kind of wound to lead me to a better opportunity. And so I know that every time I get a rejection email, as hard as that hurts, it just means that you care, and you have an idea of the way you want things to be. But it's also important to recognize that the way we think want things and what we think we need is not always what we actually do need. And you kind of have to put a lot of trust in the universe or whatever higher power you believe in, because another opportunity always does open up and it can bring a lot of goodness to your life in a way that you didn't necessarily expect it to. Um, when I was auditioning for colleges straight out of high school, I really wanted to go to IU. And that audition, it went so well. I felt so confident and I got the call that I hadn't gotten into the program and I was devastated. Like that was probably the hardest rejection I've ever had. And I ended up going to the University of Utah and studying in their ballet program, and I loved it. And it gave me my first professional opportunity, which was Orlando Ballet. And if I had gone to IU, who's to say that I would have had that opportunity? So it really does sort of unravel the way it's supposed to, even when it like doesn't feel like that in the moment at all.
Do you think that this is something that you saw as a young dancer, like you imagined it would be rough, or did you think that it would be all really awesome?
I don't know. I didn't really understand much about the professional ballet world until I was kind of in it. I'd say like the past 3 years, I've started to really understand what this profession and career entails. And as a student, I just didn't have a lot of insight into what it was. I thought you got your job and you just danced and it was happy and it was fun and hard, but like the extent to which the challenges that would present themselves would go, I definitely couldn't foresee.
Yeah. Did you always knew that you wanted to be a professional ballerina, or was it something that developed over time?
I'd say it definitely developed over time. Up until I turned 17, I didn't really see myself pursuing
Hmm.
ballet professionally. I was going to go to college for dance, so I definitely want to keep dancing. But I realized once I was sort of moving towards a college route and ballet was becoming second priority, I realized just how much I actually wanted to be my first priority.
Hmm.
And it took me almost losing ballet and going to college to realize that I actually wanted to keep doing ballet.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Did you
Yeah.
ever were you ever a homeschool dancer, or was it just always you went to regular school?
I, yeah, I went to regular school my whole education, and I was very grateful for that because I was able to have like some sort of normalcy, and I had
Mhm.
like outside of ballet
Yeah.
friends, and that was really important for me.
Besides the body dysmorphia and food challenge, has there ever been another type of challenge that you experienced as a ballet dancer?
Good question. I'd say nothing outside the normal struggles of a dancer.
Hmm.
Just not feeling good enough, having certain steps that you struggle with. Um, I felt pretty lucky that my family was able to support me financially through a lot of my twisting and turning up until this point,
Hmm.
and really just able to support my dreams. So I didn't have any obstacles in that sense.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, dealing with negativity in my body image has probably been the biggest struggles I've had. But
Yeah.
at the same time, they've given me so much of my career today and my social media. So I can't look back and be too sad about them because they made me stronger overall.
What was like one wellness lesson that you wish you learned like early on in your dance journey?
That rest is really not optional. I
Hmm.
think as like young
Yes.
dancers, especially when we're really excited about things, it's hard to know when to take a break. And I
Hmm.
definitely struggled to take breaks until I absolutely had to.
Hmm.
So learning to take rests before I get injured or do my physical therapy before I'm in pain, little
Hmm.
things like that that are hard to do when you're younger, they're definitely really important.
And you mentioned being injured a couple of times. How has that recovery process been?
Honestly, so hard.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of, I guess, the obstacles outside of my body image that I've been dealing with lately.
Hmm.
Injuries are definitely a part of this career, but it's very hard to prepare yourself to the extent that they can affect your life. And so I got injured early February, late January, like right before audition season. And for the first like month, I was very accepting. I knew that my body had to rest. I knew I had to recover, and I knew that this was happening for a reason. And then I started to recover. I did my audition. I got in, like things were working out. And then I sort of took a downhill turn again, and then my pain came back. And so injuries, they're very unpredictable and you can like think you understand everything about them. And that's definitely was my perspective. I just thought I was going to heal and it was going to go up, but they are a lot more, they're not very
Yeah.
linear. And learning to deal with my changing body and the fact that going back, it's been almost 3 months of not dancing. Going back is going to be so hard and so discouraging.
Hmm.
Um, Navigating all of that it's really, really hard. But I just think I do still deep down know that this is happening for a reason, and I'm learning so many important lessons out of it. And
Mhm,
that's really the only way for me to get through negative times is knowing that they make me stronger and they're ultimately guiding me in a better direction.
mhm. What was it like getting back to ballet for the first time after recovery? Was it exciting, hard?
All of the above. It was
Mhm,
really exciting. And then I think the first class back, I was very discouraged and a little scared because the technique doesn't necessarily leave you entirely, but just the strength and your ability to execute things does. And because I took a ton of time off and then I started to work back, then I got in pain, so I took more time off. I've been like very, very weakened and depleted in terms of my technique and my strength.
mhm.
Um, so I've started to kind of look at every small win as a win, like my first tendu without pain or my first
Yeah.
releve without pain, instead of like chasing absolute perfection. And those little wins, they just feel so good.
Yeah, and I think once you start thinking of dance in terms of little wins instead of expecting yourself to be like super duper perfect, it kind of
Hmm.
changes the game a little bit. For me personally, like in the past, I always just wished I was perfect and wished I was like a different dancer. But then eventually I started thinking of it as a bit more of a workout, like you go to the
Hmm.
gym. And for me,
Yeah.
that really changes it because you're not going to expect your form to be perfect in your first push up. So why would you expect
Yeah.
your first fouettes to be awesome?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great, I love that mentality actually. That's really cool.
Thank you. And your platform has grown into like so much more than just content creation. Can you tell us a little bit about that cozy ballerina and how it started?
Yeah, it started very suddenly. I think early December of last year. And I've always loved handwork. I learned how to crochet very young. And I've always like had like small side businesses of selling little crochet pieces,
Mhm,
um, but never at the volume that I do now. And I think having my content creation has really helped me build up my business because I can advertise to my followers and share what I'm wearing, and
mhm,
people want to wear what I'm wearing. Um, so I just kind of started because I loved to crochet and I love having hobbies that don't necessarily have to do with being on a screen. And I spend a
mhm.
lot of time on my phone, my computer because of editing. So
Yeah.
having a nice break to just crochet and work with my hands, I find it very grounding, and
Mhm,
it's like a hobby that I can improve and excel at that's not tied to my ballet technique or my body. It's just very like creative and based on like my heart force. I feel very
mhm,
connected and personal to every product I send out, and I have a lot of fun seeing where you guys are from and packaging up the orders, and it's very fulfilling in a way that's not based off of me as an artist or
mhm.
a creator. It's
Yeah.
like a I guess I am an artist and a creator, but like content creator and ballet dancer. And then there's also
Mhm.
crochet me.
Yeah. How has being a content creator just kind of changed you from being just a ballerina to being also a content creator and ballerina? Because I know those two lives are kind of different.
Yeah, no, they totally are. And I'm really grateful that they kind of go hand in hand because I think at this moment, one can't really exist without the other.
Mhm.
Obviously, ballerina me came before content creator me, but content creator me allows ballerina me to survive, like
Yes.
financially.
Mhm,
Um, And so content creation obviously is very inspired by my ballet journey, but it's also given me a road I can kind of walk down once my ballet career ends because I love creating content so much and I love sharing my personal life and my holistic values and my nutrition knowledge. So I love that I know that if ballet fails, because it is a very short career, if that door closes, like I'll have another avenue to go down. And also, I guess Cozy Ballerina could be that for me as well.
mhm,
But it's kind of been like a good security net that I find very comforting. And obviously, it's just amazing to be able to connect to so many like-minded people. I think that's definitely my favorite part of creating
mhm,
content is that like every time I get a DM, it feels like somebody who really knows me is talking to me, and I
mhm,
know who you are because you're following my content. We have similar values, similar experiences, and
mhm.
that's really just an unmatched feeling.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is it hard to balance being a content creator, being a ballerina, and also doing like that cozy ballerina on the side?
It's hard to balance, but I definitely wouldn't trade it for the world because I'm never bored. Like there's
Uh-huh.
always something I can be doing. And especially in the off season right now, or when I was injured, I always had content that I could make and I always had crochet pieces I could craft.
Mhm.
And yeah, I always can keep busy. And I love
Yeah,
that.
that's so awesome. What does a day in your life look like if you're balancing all of these things at the same time?
Amazing question. Um, it looks like waking up, doing my ballet, and usually my crochet and my content come after that. So
Mhm.
I'll say, for example, I'm filming a day in my life for my Instagram. I'll wake up, I'll do my little morning routine, which I do every morning. I'll go to rehearsal, I'll go to my classes. Let's say I finish the day at 5:30. I come home, I make a nice dinner. I sit down on the couch and I do some crochet, and then I do some editing, and then I'll probably do some more crochet before I go to sleep.
Mhm. Does being a content creator ever feel super overwhelming?
I think it can be super overwhelming. And I found that for me, when I worry too much about the numbers or engagement and kind of focus too much on like the business and transactional side of things, because obviously, like content is my income stream. But what I love about it is not that it makes me money. I love the like connection I feel to people. So it gets very overwhelming when I like worry about how much money I'm making or how many followers I'm getting or the likes on a post. And I find that when I just create something like a piece of content I'm really passionate about that speaks from my heart, that really just kind of quiets the noise. And I remember why I'm doing this.
Yeah. So we're actually coming towards the end, but I did want to ask you one final question. So if your platform really shares a different point of view for a lot of young dancers watching, me included. So if there was one piece of advice or just all your lessons that you could just summarize into one sentence, what would you tell your younger self or a younger dancer watching?
Can I say two sentences?
Yes. Sure.
Okay. Number one is your worth is not defined by how the people at the front of the room see you. And then number two is your body is with you forever and a ballet career is not. It's temporary. I would say that the number one thing is that, like we mentioned before and like we discussed a little bit, your superiors in the ballet world can tend to have a lot of influence over you. And I've been in a position where I've definitely felt like my self-worth is diminished based on casting. And it's kind of taken me a long time to realize that art is subjective and my work might be undervalued by someone, but valued by someone else. And it's really just about going through all these experiences to find the right place for you and know that just because someone doesn't think you're good enough doesn't mean you aren't good enough. And you kind of have to foster that I know I'm good enough in my heart because then whatever anybody else thinks of you is relatively unimportant.
I think that's really important for a lot of young dancers going to competition and things like that.
Oh my
A lot of
gosh,
the times
yes.
it's so hard when the judges give you critiques or when you don't place well. It's like, if I don't win first place, then I'm not a valuable dancer. And I feel like a lot of young dancers can relate to that. Comparing your dancing to other people when it shouldn't be that way, it should be more comparing to yourself and like the way that you have grown.
Yeah.
But it can be really hard when you're faced with judges and scores and
Oh
things
my
like
gosh, yeah. I did like
that.
two competitions in my life, and that was enough for me to walk away because I just couldn't handle it. So I
Yes.
saw that you were doing some competitions. Like anybody out there doing that, kudos to you because it takes so much strength. Like seriously, so much
And I
strength.
do think at the end of the day, like dance is, I would say it's more of an art. It's so subjective, so it's hard to put onto a score sheet. But uh
Absolutely.
so thank you so much, Aurora, for sharing your story today.
Thank you
And
for having me. This was a lot of fun. I love talking and I love talking to you. So thank you so much.
I think that your journey is a great reminder for all dancers that being a dancer is more than just what happens inside the studio and what the person at the front of the room thinks of you. It's more about discovering who you are, embracing the different parts of your body, and just creating your own path. So, yeah, thank you so much, Aurora, for joining the sixth position. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.